I got to a point where I was just brought to my knees, and my body was failing, my marriage was failing, my business was failing, and I just had nobody to, really share my pain with. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Weaponized Body Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Hewitt. And this first episode here that's termed Origins, this is where I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. This will probably be the hardest podcast I do, even though this is only going to be about, 5 minutes or so. But I really want my listeners to know where I'm coming from and how I was able to build the life that I currently have and that I'm currently building, and where I started from and why that's relevant. And I want to take you back to the year 2017. And at this point in my life, I'm 7 years into business, 7 years into marriage, and about 7 to 8 years into competing at the sport of CrossFit. I found CrossFit in the year of 2007. And 2008, 2009 is when I started to really put it into high gear. This is where I found my calling. If I could put it any different, I was a hockey player in a former life, but CrossFit really brought me to a place where I felt that I could excel, because overall I had been a pretty average athlete. And the cool thing about CrossFit is the more average you are, the more you can excel as a top competitor, because it doesn't really reward somebody who has top end strength, but very little endurance, nor the opposite, someone who has incredible endurance, but very, little strength. For me, I was able to build a pretty solid foundation across, all domains, strength, metabolic conditioning, aerobic fitness. I had pretty good mobility, etc. So I had really pressed hard into the sport of CrossFit, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a great way for me to meet new people. The community I really enjoyed, hitting workouts with friends, and really just like pushing myself to this gear that I had never known that I had. I was able to get to a place that was really, really, really dark. So much so that I could usually, put myself through more pain than most people. And there's pros and cons to this. And riding this gear for that many years, of course, I eventually broke down. And I leaned into the sport so much that my marriage suffered due to, lack of attention and energy I put there. My business, it wouldn't say it was failing, but it was definitely mediocre. I wasn't putting my energy and efforts and time into it to give it what it deserved in order to grow and thrive. And same with, my inner self and spirituality. I really prided myself on being very mentally tough and dealing with a lot of pain, but all that pain and suffering was just driven towards trying to discover something within myself that I just couldn't find, whether it was confidence, whether it was, validation, or, just a sense of control. And eventually, of course, you could tell the story is, getting to a point where I hit rock bottom. In the year 2017, I found myself with what I thought was irreparable damage to my lower back. I had herniated discs in my L4-5, L5S1 vertebrae. As a chiropractor, this is, you could say somewhat paradoxical or embarrassing, due to the fact that really that's something that I pride myself on being able to really help people with, is lower back pain and lower back, herniations and dysfunctions, because they're so common. And this really took a toll on me mentally. It was a recurring injury that had happened. Not only that, my knees started to really suffer. It was the first time I ever had a knee that blew up on me. And, it was showing signs of arthritis already at 37 years old. I also really took a toll on my inner health, my metabolic health. It was the first time I really got my own comprehensive blood work done. I had started really getting into athletics, performance, recovery, and just expanding my knowledge in these territories, and started offering these things in my office as well. So of course, naturally, I get my own blood work done. and assessed, and man, my metabolic health was a total disaster. My TSH, or my thyroid health, was raging. It was, over 4.0. My frighteningly, my kidney functions were suffering. My liver enzymes were elevated. And this was due to recurring chronic staph infections that kept popping up. I'd first contracted it in my elbow, and then it, popped up in my other elbow and my other knee. And what I was doing is I was continuing to do extreme metabolic conditioning despite these recurring infections. And I was really just grinding my physiology to the dirt. And my testosterone, I do remember it was in the low 300s at the time. And, despite not feeling horrendous, on the inside, I was slowly deteriorating little by little. And of course, a lot of these things, they're present, but, I'm not in full awareness or understanding of how serious they are. And I got to a point where I was just brought to my knees, and my body was failing, my marriage was failing, my business was failing, and I just had nobody to run to talk to, really share my pain with. And it was one particular moment I do remember where I had my awakening, and it was in a seminar atmosphere, and I was being taken through a process where the room was dark. It was, a room full of men, and we were all instructed to close our eyes. And we were brought down this path and visualization of what would happen if we just continued down the same road that we had been traveling, and just further and further experiencing more and more pain and dysfunction and more destruction. And I just foresaw just complete failure in my marriage, complete failure in my business, and complete failure and destruction in my health. And I had this moment of complete transformation or awakening, and where I knew that I could no longer do it myself. I could no longer take the wheel myself and continue down this direction of just grinding my body and my health, and lose everything in the process. So in 2017 to 2018, this is where my healing began. This is where my journey began to really repair my own health, repair my marriage, build my business. And at this moment here, from a place where I was just 7 years ago, my health, right now I'm as fit, I could say, definitely aesthetically, metabolically, and internally, just as healthy as I've ever been. My marriage is thriving, and we have a daughter now who's 4 years old. I have thriving businesses, a thriving chiropractic and wellness center, and multiple businesses, including the Weaponized Body here and Weaponized Wellness, my hormone optimization platform. And my wife and I are, about to build other businesses together. So at this point here, the journey had taken me from just an absolute pit of, despair and destruction, to a place of not necessarily freedom, but definitely a place where I'm on the path of having it all. And I do feel that we are called to have it all. I think that opportunity presents itself to every single person. Everyone has their own journey. And what I hope to share, in future episodes is not just my own personal experience as, someone who's done a lot of things, when it comes to health and fitness and recovery and performance, and now, things that we're doing for longevity, but also most current research. Also, I'm going to have guests on the podcast that are going to share their expertise when it comes to movement, metabolic health, and mindset. And really, those are the three pillars of this program. It's really a comprehensive look at overall mental and physical and metabolic health. And, I really hope that, this is something that helps a ton of people. And I look forward to, sharing in future episodes. And I really hope you guys tune in.